So we are about to launch a Launchpad, which has been made in conjunction with Niels, who's the CTO of MuesliSwap. And we've been working together on this project now for, God, we're heading on 10 months. Yeah. Time really flies.
Yeah.
Time flies. We've been working on this project now for 10 months, and we're essentially trying to build the Kickstarter of Cardano.
Here we are with the That's Rare podcast. We're here with Steven from vifi. He needs no introduction, but for those who don't know him, welcome, Steven. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, mate. How are you doing?
Excellent, man. It's great to be speaking again after, several years of us going back and forth from Rare Bloom to Rare Evo and at all the summits, Cardano summits. It's amazing to get you on the podcast finally and talk some vifi. You guys are building some amazing stuff on the Cardano community, possibly even working on even bigger things, and we'll get into that. I want to start with folks who don't know who you are. For any of the viewers, can you give them a little background about yourself and introduction to vifi?
Yeah, of course I can. So I'm from the traditional finance background, actually is where I'm originally from. So I studied physics, and then from physics I went into a hedge fund. And in the hedge fund I was working in bonds, short-term interest rates trader. And short-term interest rates, I still love them, actually, to be honest. They're fascinating. I could talk about interest rates for days. That's not what we're here for. And from there, I started really trading crypto in 2016. What was really interesting is I started doing DeFi very early on, right? In sort of when would it be? Like the early 2019s, like going into 2020. And what I found was that the products that existed in DeFi at the time, primarily LPs, were very similar to interest rate swaps. In fact, they were basically the exact same product. And an interest rate swap is just where I take two currencies, let's say the US dollar and the Australian dollar, and then I swap my Australian dollar for US dollar because US dollar is giving me a better interest than Australian dollar, right? And a liquidity pool is where I take half of my Bitcoin and I swap half of it for another currency like Ethereum, and then I put it into a liquidity pool to give me a better interest rate. So the mathematics is incredibly similar, and I took to it like a duck to water, and I basically never looked back. I've been doing DeFi ever since.
I love that. And we met early on talking about a lot of DeFi stuff and Twitter spaces and things like that. And you've always been super knowledgeable as the industry has grown, and one to definitely listen to. For those who don't know what vifi is, like 30-second elevator pitch, what's vifi? Yeah. I know there aren't many.
Yeah, vifi. I like to think of vifi as the most uniquely Cardano DEX. We have basically tried to take the Cardano model, and rather than think about DEXs how they look on other blockchains and make our DEX look like DEXs do on other blockchains, we very much tried to look at how the Cardano blockchain functions and make a DEX that's really uniquely Cardano, implementing things that you can't implement on other blockchains, right? An example of that is our stakeless LP farming. So when you provide LPs on vifi, you don't actually need to stake those LPs into a farm. Those LPs stay in your wallet just like Cardano stays in your wallet, and you're automatically farming just by holding those LPs. And what's really cool about this is that this now allows us to build more DeFi utilities on top of LPs themselves, right? So rather than just thinking of LPs as a token that you lock and you put away into a farm and then you never think about it again, now we can think of this LP as an actual structure that holds two underlying tokens. And those two underlying tokens can actually you can unlock this value now because they're available to you. And one way that we do that at vifi is we actually allow you to make layer 2 liquidity pools, which means you can actually make a liquidity pool with the LP tokens. Now,
that's mind-blowing.
What this means is that I like to think so. It's something that you don't really see on other blockchains, right? Because you can't incentivize it effectively on other blockchains because those LPs are being locked away to perform another task, farming, right? But on Cardano, we've got the power to unlock these LPs, put them into liquidity, and then actually take that liquidity and let users trade it back and forth. So you can buy LPs themselves directly from the front end market, right? And what this also means is that as a back end user, so a person who's an LP provider, you can actually adjust your profile or your portfolio risk using these layer 2 LPs. And I'll use it in quick summation. It's the closest thing that we have on Cardano to a balancer 80-20 pool. So a balancer 80-20 pool is 80% one token, 20% another token. A vifi L2LP pool is 75% one token, 25% the other token, right? So the best way to think of the risk profile on a vifi L2LP is it's a 75-25 version of a balancer 80-20. That's the easiest way to think of the risk profile, right? To compare it to another blockchain. But we've gotten there in a completely different mechanism. We've gotten there by building second layer LPs that users can actually buy off the market, which means that users can go from never having provided liquidity in their life to farming in a single transaction. Because I can go to vifi Dex, I can buy an LP straight off the front of my market, from the front end market. It lands in my wallet, and I'm instantly farming because I've got stakeless LP farming. So rather than having to conduct 3 transactions to get to providing liquidity to farming, you only have to conduct 1 and you're done.
That makes a lot of sense, and I feel like you guys are bringing like the ease of the market, not only for the DEX itself, but those that want to LP and get more involved and be, invested in these things and earn yield off of traders and stuff like that. You're bringing it to a UI to where anybody can get involved. You're almost making it a lot easier and decentralizing that process for folks. And I look at VyFi as you guys are doing so much. You have the DEX and the bar and the vaults and the lottery and now even governance votes and things like that. There's a lot going on that you guys are pulling together to make one great, amazing platform here going on, and where do you guys see the majority of the business coming from? Is it the DEX? Is that where the majority of the innovation and things are? In your mind, or how do you guys look at the whole platform as a whole?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's a question that we discuss internally a lot as well, because it's always that guiding principle that you need to have as a business, right? So our entire focus at VyFi initially was to create an integrated DeFi ecosystem on Cardano, right? But as we started building out on Cardano, we started realizing that this technology, and Cardano specifically, gives us the power to build out things in a manner that, in general, are more user-friendly than they currently exist on other blockchains, right? So exactly as you described, our main focus at VyFi is to take the existing systems that exist in DeFi and make that system as accessible as possible by minimizing the steps required, right? And that feeds into our next product. What we're building is called the Auto Harvester. And that's essentially, the closest analogy to that is Yearn Finance on Ethereum. And the Auto Harvester is essentially an automated farming machine. Users would put in Cardano into a strategy, and then that strategy would pick the liquidity pools, would swap out the tokens, would farm and harvest, and deliver that harvest back to you all on your behalf, right? And the reason for the best way to think about it, in fact, is it's an indexed fund for liquidity pools. That's the easiest way to think of an auto harvester. And what we really are trying to do is we're trying to create a process where there's a mode to engage for all levels of users. Someone that's never touched DeFi in their life could go to our auto harvester and say, well, I've got 100 Cardano. I know I want to do something with it, but I don't know what, but I know I like gaming tokens. So I'm going to go put it in this gaming token auto harvester, and now I've bought into 12 separate gaming tokens, right? And I'm earning interest off of those because they're harvesting. And I've got less risk than holding the tokens because I'm engaging in impermanent risk, which reduces your outright price risk by 50%. So it creates a safer mode of engagement that's easier to engage with. Then you've got that secondary layer, which is the construction of the DEX itself allows new users to engage with liquidity themselves with minimized steps. One transaction rather than 3 to get to farming, right? And then again, if you want to run all these complex things and you want to really manage the liquidity yourself, of course, you have the option to do that by running it through our DEX and running it as complexly as you want, including built-in hedging strategies with our L2 LPs, right, which are the only pools that can mimic or can look similar to an 80-20 pool, a balancer 80-20 pool on Cardano. So it also gives you more bespoke risk options for your tokens as an advanced user. So I guess where I see the business and the overarching goal of the business is to continue on the process of making DeFi as engageable as possible on the Cardano blockchain by minimizing the steps required for users. And all the products that we built are built with that overarching goal in mind, right? And as long as what we're building is feeding into that pathway to allow users to engage as easily as possible, I feel as if we're achieving our task.
You know what really struck home for me there, like really hit a core, is when you can get as composable as you want with vifi. You can break it down to the nitty gritty and do each individual transaction of, I want to buy this token, then I want to pair it with this and put it in a liquidity pool, then I want to go match that one with another one. Or you could come on as a completely brand new user and one click through all those steps, and you guys handle and take all that complexity out for the new user and make it just as easy. And like, you're giving that optionality to your users to come in and to one click just get it done, or for the guy who's a little particular to go in and kind of granularly fine tune all those transactions as much as they want. And I think that's really amazing.
Exactly. And that's a good description. Exactly what you said. We're trying to build a system that you can either treat it like Lego, or you can just take it straight out of the box pre-built, right? Either way, it's still going to be engageable and function for you. It depends how complex you want to do it. And I think that is what is the hallmark to me of a good system. And I think the classic example of that is trading systems when you use Binance, for example. What makes Binance fantastic is that if I'm a beginner, I can just go to a front-end market with just a box and another box, and I can just say, I want this much of that, enter, boom, and then it arrives, right? And it's like, okay, great, that was easy. Or I can literally go to the depth of market, pull up all the things, run all my trades along the depth of market, and then basically set up my bots to basically be running along that, and they allow the front-end user, just your basic retail trader, to access all of the market data, right? Which very few exchanges do. And exactly the same, and I guess to a certain degree, I hate saying that Binance is my inspiration, right? But coming from traditional finance, where I was particularly working in interest rate markets, where we build hedging structures using this, future structures using a Lego type structure like that, where I take one LP, add another, get a more bespoke profile by adding another token to it. But at the same time, you could also go to the exchange and you could also buy entire option systems pre-built for you, and you just press one button, you'd have an entire option system pre-built for you. And realizing that doesn't really exist in crypto in the current on any blockchain, as far as I'm really aware, that you can have pre-built risk profiles that are managed for you, or that you can granularly manage yourself from the one platform. There are definitely platforms that do either or, but not one that has integrated it into one platform that allows you to do it all. And that's really what VyFi is aiming for, to create a really simple path to take users from a beginner through to an advanced level with a really progressive step-by-step process on the platform itself. And that's the overarching goal of the platform, right? So you want to take the user on a journey. The journey where they start off as someone that doesn't really know what they're doing and they're engaging simply. And before you know it, they're building those Lego pieces and having a great time building up their own profile, their own portfolios.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's amazing kind of like how far you guys have come. And for those who don't know, like how long have you been working on ViFi?
Oh God, it's been almost
Yeah,
4 years. You can see it there, and you can also see it in the white all over my hair. Um,
it's been a long, wild ride, Steven. It's been fun, man. And like, I remember the first days, I was just looking at it today, going back, like looking at the Wi-Fi docs and like looking at the Git book and how far like it's come for you guys is absolutely amazing. Like all the documentation that you guys have put out and everything you've done, like how far the app has grown over the past 4 years from the dream and kind of getting in to crypto and I remember the first rare bloom and everything. You guys have come an amazing way. You fought through the bear market, so I
thank you,
think it's my hats off to you guys as builders.
thank you.
And what was that like? You guys kind of. I want to ask that to folks. Most people don't know, especially for new folks coming in the game. What have those 4 years kind of been like the past few years for you guys?
Oh my, hard but rewarding, and I mean, okay, so running a business has to be a passion project, right? Like you can't build a business and not love what you're doing. And like money is great and all, but the
Mm.
reality is you can probably make more money at a job. Like particularly, at least I'm fortunate enough to be fairly well educated and a trader, so I know I can go to a bank and make a decent income. I'm certainly going to be making more than I am running Dex on Cardano, working as like a trader for a bank. Um, so it really has to be something that you love, right? And I think that that love is what drives you through. It's. I was actually chatting about it today because a lot of my friends, of course, they head off, they get married, they have kids, and I had one of my friends over today who's having his second child. Congratulations, of course. And I was kind of feeling a bit like, congratulations all. I feel a little bit like I'm left behind. I'm 30 now and I don't have a kid yet, and everyone's sort of doing stuff. And then he looked at me, he's like, "No, Steven, you do have a kid." It's my fight. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably the best analogy I can think of. You hate it a lot of the time. It destroys your life and it ruins your social life, and you can no longer go out and you can no longer enjoy yourself. But at the end of the day, it's the thing that gives you probably some of the most pleasure in your life, because it's to see it come to fruition is like nothing else that I've ever experienced, right? Um, but it's hard. It's hard work.
Absolutely, man, and we feel that with Rare Network. We've gone through the whole ups and downs, and it is like having a kid or just a crazy responsibility in your life that kind of takes over everything.
Yep.
And consumes a lot, but when you love what you do, it's really fun. And we've gotten to do some crazy stuff over the years. That's for sure.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. There's like, I mean, I've had beers with you in 3 different continents,
yeah. Wild,
right?
wild, wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. So what's new for Wi-Fi? You were showing me a little bit. I don't want to give it up, but like
Oh,
what's on the
so
future
much.
plate? What's on the
Yeah.
future
So
plate for Wi-Fi? What can we show off here?
we just launched governance yesterday. We got our first vote, which is our treasury rules, and then that's all taken off from the next week or two. So that's super exciting. um, but we're just launching. Hopefully, I don't want to give away timeframes. My team will crack it at me, but hopefully in the next very very soon. I wanted to launch it at the same time as governance, so that's
Quarter.
how soon.
Next quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Um, we're launching what's called a transaction cart. And I actually can run through a quick example. I'll just share my screen.
Oh,
Um,
let's go.
so
Alpha.
we're not going to be doing some crazy examples. We're not going to be doing some crazy big ones. But let me know when it's up. Here we are on our
One
decks.
moment. There we go.
Here we are on our decks, and I just need to refresh it. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom,
And I
boom.
love the
There we are.
UI here. It's very clean. This is I want to
Oh, thank
comment
you.
on your UI a little bit here, and I love how your decks, again, going back to we didn't just copy something off of, other chains. When you go to your decks button there, I love that you get the visual chart next to it. It's not just
Mhm.
what token do you want to swap? Here's the price. You're also for the visual learners. They get a chart right there. I
Absolutely.
love that a lot.
This I sometimes feel is a little bit busy. Ooh, actually, so anyway, let's do this because I also want to show you how our what's it called? Farming works, because I'm also going to show you in this as well. So
Mm-hmm.
here I got a few tokens in our decks, right? And we're going to supply these to liquidity and do a couple of trades. This is the transaction cart that we've got now, which acts like an Amazon shopping cart where you can functionally stack transactions on top of each other and then run them all through at once. So, for example, we could do a little trade of, let's do, for example, Indy, right? We'll trade out 5 for Indy. We'll add that to the cart. And then we'll do ourselves, while we're here, we may as well do 5 for VyFi because why not? Add that to the cart. Then we go to the add liquidity, and then we can add the existing VyFi that we have in liquidity, add that to the cart. Then let's also take the CBLP that we have here. Max, let's add that to the cart. And then I don't have any liquidity to remove in this wallet, so I do apologize. I already did both of those. So there we've got 4 transactions. Just for a little bit of fun, I'll do one last one. Let's go down
Stacked
and
up
buy a
like an
very PB.
Amazon cart. This is like you were shopping on Amazon, that easy.
That easy. Boom, all done. Now here we can see the orders. So here, Dex trade in ADA for Indy. So 5 ADA goes to 1.435391 Indy, right? Here's your minimum tokens. Here's your processing fee. These are your min ADA. This is the amount that's going to come back, right, with the
And then
transaction.
and if a price had changed there, you could just hit that X, like if you didn't like one of the prices that had changed, and drop that one
And
thing out of the cart and continue
correct.
through with everything else.
And I wish
I
one
love
showed,
that.
because if it showed here, it's perfect, right? It comes up here that says, warning, the price has changed by this much. Would you like to accept the new price? And you can press that and it updates this to accept the new price. But it hasn't happened, so such is the life. So we can confirm that. We'll send through all these trades. And Bob's your uncle. Put in the password, send that through, confirming transaction submitted. And now we've got 5 trades going through, 2 add liquidities, 3 trades, all simultaneously. We could add remove liquidities. We could go to the bar and we could do our bar. Didn't even talk about our bar. We got the first distributive mechanism on Cardano, which is something we're very
Steven,
proud
you're
of.
too fast. If we had to do that transaction by transaction, we would have been here for an hour to get that done. Like, you know?
At least 10 minutes.
That's amazing how
Yes.
fast that works, and I love the granularity there. Like you're able to kind of fine tune if a price has changed, you can accept individually and check out. And I mean, you're building like the Amazon cart, like a shopping of decentralized finance. It's very very interesting there, and I love how it kind of goes into that second layer of the liquidity pools as well. You
Mm-hmm.
guys are doing some amazing stuff.
And something that I do want to add, there's 2 things I want to add to that, right? First, the reason we made that is because having to do things one by one was taking a lot of time for us. So often a lot of the best innovation comes because of the problems that you face. It's like, this is annoying me. How can I make my life easier? Because I want my life to be easier. And then we do it. And it's like, okay, this is actually a good idea, right? And secondly, something I want to add is that part of the reason why this is possible and so implementable is because of Cardano's technology, right? The EUTXO model makes it really straightforward to split transactions. Look, really straightforward is strong words. You still need to be a software engineer, but it makes it straightforward to split transactions in such a manner that I can submit in multiple places at once, right? And because of the way that our liquidity pools function is that every single one of our liquidity pools have their own batcher, which is different to the other dexes on Cardano. The other dexes on Cardano have grouped batches for their liquidity pools. We have one for each liquidity pool. That means that we can submit simultaneously to all the different pools at the same time because of the design of our dex. So because the EU TXO model allows us to quickly split and we built our pools with individual batches on every pool, that means that we can perform all the transactions simultaneously across our DEX.
I really like that. And can you
Cardano's
go
cool.
into Cardano is cool. That's exactly what I wanted to ask. Can you go into a little more of like what the difference is there between like why that's an issue on ETH or EVM chains, or even like is this something that could be done with UTXOs on there's a lot of Bitcoin DeFi being built. Is this something that could be done
So,
on Bitcoin, or is it unique to Cardano only?
so it could be done on, I can't answer that for Bitcoin. Sorry. I don't actually know for Bitcoin. So I do apologize there. For
Yeah.
Ethereum, it could certainly be done, but it would have to be, for account models, it can certainly be done, but it has to be managed by a smart contract. So in other words, you'd have to send the transaction to the smart contract, and then the smart contract would split it and then send it out accordingly, right? You can't build it into the transaction itself, because in the account-based model, we're trying to count the wallet itself, right? So I can't say I'm counting this transaction, I'm counting from this wallet, and then I'm sending it to 7 different places, right? That's breaking my transaction, right? I can't count 1 wallet, 2 wallet, but 2 wallets actually 7 at once. That's not how the blockchain counts. That's really, engineers will hate me. That's a really stupidly simplified description of why, right? But the way that you would manage it on Ethereum would be by sending it to a smart contract and letting the smart contract do that split for you. But because of Cardano, we can build that into the chain itself, or into the
Into the
transactions themselves.
transaction.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I mean that's really important for what's being built here, and how unique the things you're being built. Like you said in the beginning, it's not just copying over from other chains. You're actually building unique solutions for the ecosystem you're in, and that I think
Mhm.
shows a lot of grit and integrity in itself. What's coming up for you guys in the future here? Like what else you guys
So we've got
working
the auto
on?
harvester, of course. We've got the auto harvester, of course. We've got a whole other product called lock and load vaults, which I'm not going to talk about today because I want to move on to the other one, which is T-1. So we are about to launch a Launchpad, which has been made in conjunction with Niels, who's the CTO of MuesliSwap. And we've been working together on this project now for, God, we're heading on 10 months. Yeah. Time really
Time
flies.
flies. Yeah.
Time flies. We've been working on this project now for 10 months, and we're essentially trying to build the Kickstarter of Cardano, I think is the best way to describe it. It's an automated process that anyone can follow that takes them from not even not having a token. So you've just got an idea and a website, but you don't have a token. You haven't organized where you're going to be doing your stuff, how you're going to be releasing it all. And we're trying to build one centralized place where you can come, mint your token, release your token to the public, and then use one control panel to essentially set up the essential functions that you would expect from the Cardano blockchain, right? And we're, of course, launching with the TM1 Launchpad, and we're actually launching in April, and we've already confirmed our first launch is going to be Zengate Global's Palm token.
Massive.
So
That is absolutely massive.
we're very excited for that. Very soon, we're going to be announcing a few others. And I'm not going to say any names. I can't break them yet on here, but I can tell you that at least 2 projects that are going to be at Rare Evo, also 2 other ones that aren't Zengate, 2 other ones are also going to be launching on TM1. So by the time we're at Rare Evo, I actually assume that those 2 projects will have both launched on TM1 by then. So that'll be fun to catch up.
And we're working on some really exciting stuff with Rare Evo when it comes to our hackathon, award ceremony, and community building. When it comes to doing some pitches on the stage and people getting into the tier, is it tier 1?
Yep, tier 1. And that's the next thing that I wanted to talk about as well. We're going to be working with TM1. We're going to be working with Rare Evo to essentially find some new and up and coming ideas. And part of the pitch competition is to help those new and up and coming ideas build out those ideas. And you're going to be working with, between MuesliSwap and vifi, I think we've got 8 years experience. Sorry, like they pretty much started when we did. So like, no, they're I believe it was 2.5 years ago that they launched. So, you've got a lot of years of experience between the two teams. We've been here for a while.
Absolutely, and we're excited to be working with you guys going into the third year of the event and really putting something fun together and including the community. I think between that and the hackathon, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on, and we appreciate the support as you guys are launching this kind of new business. It's awesome to see, and we're always willing to work together on some fun stuff, and excited to see it kind of come to life and fruition.
And vice versa, we appreciate the support that we've received from you guys for the years. It's been, I would say, a great working relationship, really. And any ways that we can help, never be afraid to hit us up.
Absolutely. Hopefully this Catalyst working group sends us to Sydney, and we're able to have a beer on your continent. And we'll add another one to the list, you and I, but it'll be your hometown.
That'll be 4 continents. That would be 4. That's impressive. How many people have you had a beer with in 4 continents? That's like an impressive feat.
That is a pretty impressive feat. It's a pretty good one, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Where do people, for the new folks that are going to view this, there's going to be a lot, where do they go to find you, find vifi, get in the community? Is it Twitter? Is it Discord? Where do they go?
All of the above: Twitter, Discord. We've got a long and extensive Medium. I'm talking like maybe too many Medium articles. Might be overwhelming. Don't get too scared. Particularly since I've got a little bit of a penchant for writing up articles with heavy duty maths involved. So maybe just skip those ones. I like the maths articles. But certainly, definitely socials. Don't be afraid to come and ask any questions that you've had. One of the big things is that our system, because it does allow that level of granularity, it can feel very overwhelming at first. But the really important thing to remember is that the reason we've built that level of granularity is because it actually makes it easier for you. Right? And it allows us to then automate those systems. So if you're feeling a little intimidated by how complex it's looking, don't hesitate to come and ask any questions. We're always around. I'm there most days. I'll answer any questions you have. So will Nick or our support staff. And I would also say same for TM1. We're launching the KYC very soon, so people can start getting involved in Palm Token and the ones that we'll be announcing very shortly. And within that, we've got our Telegram, our Discord, and our Twitter. So definitely follow TM1 as well.
Love that. We'll put all that in the description and everything. And appreciate your time, Steven. I know you're completely across the world. It is really early in the morning for you, so I appreciate you taking the time, and we'll let you get some rest, and we'll see you on the road.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much, mate.
Cheers.